Insurance for the New Possible is back live at the Singapore Fintech Festival 2023. We are with Rajat Sharma, the Chief Revenue Officer at InsureMO. This is not the first time we've sat down at a microphone together. How are you doing, by the way?
And will not be the last time as well.
It won't be the last time for sure, for sure. What do you think about the energy here? I mean, you can feel it. It does feel like there are thousands, tens of thousands of people here, doesn't it?
It does. And you're rubbing shoulders off every second.
Yeah, it's wild, right?
So many friends, so many customers, so many partners. So it's amazing. Yeah,
it's super amazing.
Yeah.
I want to talk about basically the hottest topic right now, not just in insurance, but in finance.
Yeah.
So maybe we start there.
Yeah.
How do you look at embedded finance and embedded insurance from an InsureMO perspective?
I think that goes hand in hand, and that's the whole proposition. I think we believe that everything in the future is embedded, right? And that's where the future is. And even the banking business, the bank assurance business that was happening for the last 100 years,
yep,
we feel all of that stuff will be embedded in the next 10 years or so. So that's where everything for us is embedded.
So can you give me a couple examples maybe where people haven't thought about either that should be embedded, that might be embedded, but in fact, maybe it already is, or you definitely know it's going to be?
Look, very simple. So when people talk about bank assurance, people think traditional, that they think that they'll walk into a branch and they talk to somebody and they'll be selling them insurance.
Right, that's what I think about when I hear that word, right?
Yeah. So, but the fact is, all of that stuff today is embedded, which means, when you get a card issued, and when you are getting a loan processed, when you're buying a vehicle, you don't need a separate call from somebody else selling you insurance, right? Everything has to be embedded as part of the card purchase, as part of the whole equipment itself. So that itself has to be within the journey itself.
Right.
Simple example on e-commerce, right? When you are on e-commerce platforms, you're buying stuff.
Yep.
You buy stuff and you come out. And the fact is, e-commerce applications know so much about you. The fact is, they can sell you applications which are tailored to your needs. And that could be into your buying process. So that itself is such a massive, massive opportunity that people can explore.
How do you make sure that in that process of having the embedded insurance there, that the customer experience is still good enough so that when the customer is done getting a loan for their car, doing the e-commerce experience, they actually end up saying, hey, you know what, I still bought protection as well, and I actually enjoyed it.
Yes. Again, I think customer experience all depends on, how easily you make it for them to access something.
Right.
And then secondly, when it comes to claim, how smoothly you can handle a claim for them.
So it's two-sided though, right?
Two-sided, obviously.
Yeah.
So while selling has to be easier and easier for both the sides, the claims is probably the most important aspect here.
You think so?
I feel, yeah, absolutely. And I'll give you an example. So we work with a company called Cred in India.
Okay.
Cred is known to be one of the fastest grown unicorns in the world. Anecdote is, within 18 months of their launch, they got $1 billion valuation. They recently launched a motor insurance embedded product on their app.
Right.
And people believe that motor insurance cannot be sold by internet companies.
By
any internet company like an app.
Oh, they definitely can, but go ahead.
But the fact is, they ended up selling around 40,000 motor policies on app itself, which is being used by companies, right? So that itself talks about how these traditional products could be sold digitally and embedded.
Is this something unique to the Indian experience? Or is there kind of a leapfrogging process taking place? Because insurance penetration in India is still relatively low, right?
Very low, yeah.
Right, so it's low, but it almost has to be, right? Because of just the way it's been brought up in India. But what's changing now that's making that possible, do you think?
Look, there are a few things. I think post-COVID, almost 700 million population came on the internet. Yeah.
In India?
In India. So India today has probably the second largest internet population in the world.
700 million people came on.
So
yes. Are you suggesting to me that before COVID, half of the Indian population, actually more than half, was not online?
No.
Really?
Yes. So COVID actually, one, that made it happen. Second, the government created a lot of digital infrastructure in the country.
Yeah, they did, didn't they?
So ONDCs, the whole Bharat Pay, the Ayush Pay, all that stuff.
UPI.
UPI, etc. happened, and the whole digital infrastructure made it possible for, companies to innovate.
Yep.
So that's where I think that adoption happened very, very massively.
Right.
So people were going online, people were purchasing online, e-commerce started happening, the whole UPI, obviously, as you said, brought to bring things up. So that obviously was one of the impetus, and obviously there's a model that China is there, right? So there is a case in point for a large population to be digital. So that itself, because of which I think we see a lot of these plays happening in, digital going in India.
I feel like the fact that 700 million people have come online means that you and I should just stop this conversation right now and go get something done.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just so many people, right?
Absolutely.
Talk to me more about regional growth inside of Asia, and maybe if there are any differences you think about how that growth is going to take place, because Japan's a very different market than, let's say, Indonesia, which is also different than Vietnam. How does it look differently to you, and how does it affect the growth prospects?
Every market is different. Okay, I'll start with markets like US, Latin America.
Fair enough.
So there are niche capabilities in every market. For example, for us in US, we are working with ISO as an ecosystem.
Yeah, fair enough.
Likewise, Brazil, Mexico, Latin America, the whole the South Africa market is like Asian markets for us.
Yeah.
Emerging. At the same time, the nature of buying patterns of the customer is same. The whole consumer pattern, the whole penetration is very low. So for us, it's like a copy-paste model. Asia itself, all the markets are different. Now, when I talk of Japan, people think of again traditional. But the fact is in Japan, we work with telcos. Okay, we work with cards companies. We work with utility companies. We work on pet insurance. We work with Amazon.
So NTT, SoftBank, NTT Docomo, so Amazon, big companies like that.
These are the kind of names we work in Japan. And then the same kind of stuff. For example, in Philippines, we work with ride-hailing companies. We work with gig economy like Picaroo. We work with players like Pay Maya and all these players, which is very much digital. And at the same time, we connect them with the whole ecosystem on the insurance side.
Right. So for a company like InsureMO, right, that does this connectivity, that creates this connectivity for other companies to offer insurance products.
Yeah.
What is the difference between working with a company like Amazon, which is an e-commerce player, and in some cases a 3PL player as well, but a very unique animal, and a telco?
Yeah. I think the fact is, look, great part about insurance is that it could be embedded in any and every ecosystem in the world.
Right. But you've got to convince them to use your APIs, right, to connect to you. So how does that's what I mean. It's like, how is that non-trivially different? Because Amazon's going to have all of their own technology, NTT's going to have all of their own tech. So that integration process is going to be very difficult across the board,
The whole difficult part about insurance is insurance process itself. Insurance is not an easy product, right?
On the back end,
On the back end, right? So
policy
there's a lot of
administration and
complexity
stuff
around
like that.
the product itself.
Yeah.
And that's where, people need tools. So we are not saying that we are going to build everything for Amazon or the world. So they know their tech the best.
Right.
They know to build the customer experience the best. All we are giving them are small tools, small components in form of microservices and APIs so that we just give them tools and they can create whatever they want to.
If you're accessing new customers, right? Because the only reason why you'd work with Amazon is not just to offer their products embedded insurance, but because it's likely that they're dealing with a cohort that has not been dealt with before.
Yes.
If that's the case, do you think that dealing with new customers on new platforms also helps create new and innovative products that haven't been already created?
Absolutely. So that's what we've been doing. So we don't know, what is next coming to us.
Yeah, in a way you don't, right?
Yeah, we don't know. So every day there's new stuff coming to us. For example, when a company like a food delivery app comes to us and they say, look, we want not just riders insurance, we even want food delivery delay insurance.
Right.
These are new products that comes to us and we keep learning and we innovating. So we have a library. We keep adding products to library so that then we bring that innovation back to other players in the market.
I think company culture, and we've been speaking about this all day, is actually really important. Let me give you some context for this. When I was a little kid, right, we had to do chores in my house.
What is that?
Chores.
Yeah, yes.
We had to do chores, right?
Yes,
so like at the end of dinner, someone would have to clear the table, somebody would have to do the dishes and like load them into the dishwasher or wash them by hand. I didn't mind doing the dishes.
Yeah.
This is a cultural thing, right? Now you'll see where this is coming back from an innovation perspective. I didn't mind doing the dishes if it was going to take me an hour or 2 hours. I didn't care. But what really bothered me was at the end when I was sure I was done, one more dish. Or another pot or pan. I'll be like, Mom, come on. Why not everything together?
Yes.
But when you're building a company like yours, you're never finished.
You never.
So how do you maintain that innovation culture and don't have people who feel like I felt when I was a kid going, another thing we have to build? How do you build that innovation culture into it?
And I think that goes with the whole community, the whole concept of innovation, right? If you are talking innovation, you want new things coming up and you need people who get motivated by doing new things again and again.
Yeah, exactly.
So these are two DNA set of people, right? One set of DNA is, they like repeating the stuff, mundane stuff, and they're very good at it.
Right.
So we have brought in people with DNAs from these internet companies, from these super apps, who will never get tired of doing new stuff. And they'll keep coming to us that, look, now we want to try this. That kind of stuff.
Do you find that the people that come from the internet companies, from the e-commerce companies, are best placed to actually then go back and deal with their e-commerce cohorts because they know what the problems or the pain points or the solutions are that they need?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Plus, so like the e-commerce lady that joins InsureMO goes, I'll take care of Lazada or whatever it is. Is that the way it works?
That is way. The other way also it works very well because then they work as catalysts working with the insurance carriers who are very traditional, who think very traditionally. So if you bring an e-commerce player, a guy, talking to a carrier, that gets them thinking, so that behaves like a catalyst. And not just for them, it even happens for our own company itself.
Sure, because that person who wasn't inside the insurance business before is sitting there going, you've never thought about this, but we've always wanted this. How do we build it and then serve it back? Is that's happening as well?
Absolutely, that's happening. So that's where, when we work with carriers, so for example, we work with Una. Una been launched in India, in Singapore, in Philippines, and Indonesia.
Yep.
So they thought that we can only give them traditional products. But when they saw we bringing them ride-hailing companies, we bringing them food delivery companies, payment wallets. So that got them thinking, and that because the kind of people we put in the mix here,
right?
They kind of co-innovate with them.
Are you seeing this as like a virtuous circle?
It is.
You bring them in, the DNA is different. You get new products, and they're like, "Wait a second, we can do new products."
Yeah.
And then internally, you get people innovating more, and externally, people coming in and saying, "Can you innovate for us?" Are you seeing this happen as well?
Absolutely. So that's why the product innovation itself is a co-creation. So we are sitting with the carrier jointly, we're sitting with the channels directly, 3 in a room, and we are innovating jointly.
If you think about where embedded finance at scale, embedded insurance as well was when you kind of spun InsureMO out, how would you characterize its development up until now? And then where do you think it's going?
I think where we are going is in the form of standardizing the insurance as much as possible.
Really?
Yeah. So we can't do 100% standardization. So what we are doing is, so it's 30% or 40%. There's a lot of standard components in insurance. For example, a motor insurance product is a motor insurance product, whether that's sold in America or Ecuador or India or wherever.
Right.
The fact is, the only thing that changes is some regulatory aspects, some process around that. That's a 20% variance. Yep. But the fact is, you can still streamline and standardize stuff, which is like templates of these products.
For sure.
So we are trying to do simple stuff, and we are trying to become invisible as much as possible in the whole game.
Right. I'm trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Just become invisible.
Yes.
Can we talk about motor insurance as well?
Yeah.
We're not anywhere close to full autonomous driving, but we'll get there at some point. And actually, there are some places in California where there are autonomous taxis driving around today.
Yes.
And there are just going to be more and more of them.
Yes.
Singapore itself is already running and has been running for a few years now.
Yes.
Experiments to do this.
Yes.
How does it change the kind of products that get built for motor insurance? And who's actually buying that insurance? Do you know what I mean?
Yes. So it's very interesting. So we met up with a few guys from Volvo. So who are doing the Volvo's smart, ecosystem within them, and they've started companies in telematics space.
Yeah.
So when we sit with them, we see, how innovative products that they are bringing in the market, and they're thinking everything from a future 10-year perspective, which is EV, which is autonomous. And they're not just looking at just a ride insurance or a trip insurance. They're looking at beyond that, which means it could be PA, it could be travel, it could be even health, it could be goods. So there's a lot of innovation, which means you're packaging products now, which means we're packaging services, petrol pumps, fines. Everything gets packaged and it becomes like a pseudo insurance model, right? So people are thinking on those lines, and these type of products are making those thinking possible.
So these conversations are so interesting for me because my brain just starts going in circles trying to figure out what the next thing is. If we think that an e-commerce marketplace is a platform, right? If we think that a ride-hailing company is a platform, right? So companies like Grab, companies like Uber, companies, in India as well. If we think about how vehicles are changing, autonomous vehicles, whether it's trucks, drones, anything like that, do you see them becoming platforms as well, and new and differentiated platforms where your car actually becomes a sales point for other things?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Absolutely.
Where like your EV, which is also autonomous, then gets to say, I'll go, instead of doing 1 hour delivery, your car does 1 hour pickup for you.
Yes.
So I can then drive my own delivery whenever I want, and then there's an entire insurance product to build around that as well.
Absolutely. So if you look at many ride-hailing companies, for example, Ola in India, Ola has already launched their EV vehicles, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because they have understood the riding patterns of the consumer so much that they have now taken the whole knowledge into the EV side of the business, and they're creating autonomous vehicles on similar lines,
right? So
that the whole pickup rate, the whole activation rate, the efficiencies of these vehicles are at a 99% level.
Right, that's the thing though, right?
That's the thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the whole point of, bringing the efficiency to the 100% level.
Okay.
And that's where people are thinking, and we are aligning to them so that the insurance products, the insurance innovation is tagged along with that innovation.
There's so much stuff going on in the innovation space in insurance. I want to thank you for sitting down and doing this with me. I feel like we could go on and on with this. We should do more of this.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for staying here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Don't forget to follow Insurance for the New Possible on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube to stay up to date on all of our amazing and informative content.